Yes, it works. Okay. Shall we get started? Hello, everyone, and welcome to one of the last sessions of the day and of the conference. My name is Matt BOYSE. I'm a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute in Washington, D.C., and I'm a professor at Johns Hopkins SAIS, and I have the pleasure of moderating this panel this evening. From the Baltic to the Black Sea, maintaining freedom of navigation in the context of Russia's war against Ukraine. This, of course, has been the theme for the entire conference and is discussed quite theoretically or politically by sort of in almost every, well, not every panel, but almost every panel. But this will be a lot more granular because we have two admirals and a serious naval expert here. So we're saving the best for last. This has been a really terrific conference and one of the best that focuses on the Black Sea. Now, the title of this panel includes the word Baltic, the site of increasing hostile Russian and Chinese activity. However, we had a cancellation of Admiral Potthoff from Germany, and so I fear we will not have the sort of on-the-ground expertise on the Baltics that we would have had with our German colleague. So I think we probably won't cover that in very much depth, unfortunately, and I hope nobody is too disappointed. That region has been hotter than usual lately with airspace violations, cut or damaged telecoms and energy cables, interception by Estonia of Russian Shadow Fleet tankers, followed by Russia sending fighters into Estonian airspace, pinpricks after pinpricks after pinpricks, Russians behaving badly and testing NATO member state responses. And unfortunately, a couple hours ago, our other panel member, the senator of the Romanian Parliament, who's the chair of the Defense Committee, also had to bow out. So she unfortunately is not going to be here, and she would have offered terrific insights from the legislature. But in any case, so this means a smaller group and more, I think, of a Black Sea focus. But that also gives each of the panelists more time, of course. And since panelists always have more to say in the time that they have to say it, I'm sure you all welcome that. Introducing briefly our distinguished panel, we have, starting at the end here, Vice Admiral Mihai PANAIT, Chief of Naval Forces in Romania. In the center, we have Admiral retired Ihor KABANENKO, former Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine. And last but not least, Seth, CROPSEY, President of the Yorktown Institute in Washington. So this is a very authoritative panel on freedom of navigation in the Black Sea, less the Baltics, I'm afraid. So, so the maritime domain in the Black Sea has been fairly quiet for the last year or so as freedom of navigation is concerned. It has not been quiet otherwise. Crimea and the Russian Black Sea Fleet are still using those being used as platforms from which to attack the mainland, and Ukraine has continued to attack Crimea. But freedom of navigation hasn't been as much of an issue as it was in the immediate aftermath of Russia's full-scale invasion. But then the shipping corridors reopened after a period of time, and Ukraine was able to so damage and intimidate the Russian Black Sea Fleet that it really no longer posed a serious challenge to freedom of navigation. And there are few, if any, Russian ships in the Sea of Azov. The Russian Black Sea Fleet has also chosen not to attack the vessels containing food, fertilizer, and other commodities with missiles or fighters. And Ukraine has kept its lifeline to the world open and has been able to supply the world with food despite the war. However, there is danger for ships plying the Black Sea, and how much danger is something our panelists can answer. And of course, Russia continues to affect freedom of navigation on the Black Sea Fleet because, for example, during the Biden administration, Secretary Austin, when he spoke to his counterpart, he spoke about unprofessional, dangerous, and reckless Russian Air Force behavior in international airspace over the Black Sea, which of course has a freedom of navigation dimension. Russian missile attacks have reportedly damaged 2 civilian vessels in Odessa, one the PANAIT and one Ivory Coast flagged, and the 29th civilian vessel that was damaged since February 22 by one estimation. And then last September, a supersonic anti-ship missile hit a Turkey-operated ship in international waters. And of course, Kherson and Mykolaiv ports remain blocked, right, due to mines, which of course also affects freedom of navigation. And so, and of course, grain exports, while they continue, have also not been there's been a loss over time. So how much danger is there to freedom of navigation by the Russian Black Sea fleet? And the recent ceasefire negotiations are particularly noteworthy because they illustrated how focused Putin is on the Black Sea. In those negotiations, it seemed from the outside that the Black Sea was actually more important to him than the land domain. And of course, the Russians violated that ceasefire as well. So it'll be an opportunity for the panelists to comment on these highly topical issues, as well as things are, so what are the main threats to freedom of navigation in the Black Sea? What hybrid instruments is Russia using to disrupt freedom of navigation, energy and connectivity? And of course, they are different geopolitical spaces. What lessons do they hold for us? And what role can NATO and its member states play in ensuring the safe and open maritime corridors? And Seth, you have a focus a little bit more, I understand, on U.S. sea power, but that is a super, super relevant topic. So your comments and your to the above questions will provide outstanding insights and for the audience, and of course, we're looking forward very much to your comments. So perhaps starting, maybe I can start with you. Yes, Minister. That would be, you follow this issue extremely closely. How does it look from the Ukrainian perspective?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. First of all, let me express my sincere gratitude to organizers for the opportunity to take part, to participate in this year, the Black Sea and Balkan Security Forum. Speak in front distinguished audience to go with high professional panelists. Much has been already said and written about how Ukraine's asymmetric strategies at sea has allowed to destroy or seriously damage more than 40 the enemy warships and combat boats. But let me draw your attention to another remarkable result from my perspective of Ukraine's asymmetry at sea, which concerned the restoration of the freedom of navigation in its littoral waters. There are a number of lessons to be learned in this regard, but let me highlight just 3 of them. I hope they would be useful not only in the context of the Black Sea security, but other European nations in land seas as well, because it's a big difference between situation how it's going on in ocean and in land sea, like the Black Sea. The first lesson concerned Russia's style and methods of warfare to disrupt the freedom of navigation. At the war beginning, a lot of experts worried that Kiev has a very low chance to protect its littoral waters due to very limited Ukraine's traditional naval capabilities compared to the Russian naval armada and over Ukraine. Nevertheless, in quite short time, Ukraine found a way how to destroy a row of Russian warships, including the famous Moskva cruiser, and forced the rest of them to leave its littoral waters, Snake Island, and beyond. Let me stress again what this Ukraine's operational success has been achieved exclusively through asymmetrical actions and so-called mosquito means of modern naval warfare in inland sea. Such a turn was clear against the Kremlin's aggressive plans. In order to remain a window of opportunity to control Ukraine's sea lines as well as to regroup its forces, Russia got in the well-known grain deal under the UN umbrella. In fact, it was Moscow's operational gambit in which it, hiding behind fictitious accusations towards Ukraine, at the same time resorting to hybrid activity aimed to disrupt Ukraine's grain sea export. After some time, Russia unilaterally withdrew from the deal, then understood what, despite its counter-work, Ukraine's grain transportation gained momentum. But fully everything is in direct naval warfare went wrong for Moscow, again due to crucial impact of the Ukrainian naval and aerial drones, as well as other asymmetric means. Nowadays, Russia has returned to hybrid format, promoting the idea of so-called truce in the Black Sea. But the real goal of this initiative is the same as before, to bring its naval forces closer to Ukrainian littoral waters. Thus, this lesson learns what Moscow's combined warfare to gain control of the shipping lines in the northwestern Black Sea means use both direct and indirect methods. In doing so, the Kremlin is traditionally tried to achieve operational surprise. And then they make a lot of noise in one area of or direction. Just look at the others. There they remain quiet. The second lesson is about the separated zones of merchant shipping of the war sites, of the sites of warfare. Ukraine's zone is located in the northwestern part of the Black Sea, while Russia is in the east central part. So they do not overlap each other. This division was created by Kyiv's asymmetric actions, effectively denied the enemy warships' ability to impact on Ukraine's shipping zone. As of today, the opponents try not to attack the enemy's sea routes for various reasons. Ukraine, based on strict adherence to international rules, but Russia, due to fears of the possible Ukrainian mirror response by naval drones, as well as other means of warfare. Thus, freedom of navigation in separated sea zones seems to be a new phenomenon of the war in the Black Sea. And it seems to be here to stay as long as Moscow's aggressiveness on shipping lines is effectively deterred by adequate Ukraine's countermeasures. In my last, but for sure not the least lesson, let me turn more specifically to the issue of the ceasefire in the Black Sea lobbied by Moscow. Russia certainly has a clear interest here, focused on revoking restrictions of the Montreal Convention's Article 19 concerning the transit of warships through the Bosphorus. It is easy to predict what Russian warships will line up to replace, and even more than replace, those sunk by Ukraine if these restrictions are lifted. As a matter of fact, a growing Russian naval presence in the Black Sea be a serious problem. But dangerous also, what even if ceasefire holds, these forces would be free to conduct so-called gray zone operations, at which they are proficient. It should be clear, including raiding, sabotage, navigation system hackings, hidden naval mines, laying seabed warfare, etc. In such circumstances, a post-ceasefire Black Sea seems to be a dangerous environment where maintaining the free flow of trade will be quite challenging. Thus, on the one hand, Russia wants to impose its game of maritime truce on Ukraine in an area that the Kremlin is not doing well, in order to increase the capabilities, impact, and results of its operations below the threshold of the war at sea, which is quite difficult to counter. On the other hand, the overall operational situation at sea looks balanced, quite balanced, and quite favorable for Ukraine, particularly for Ukraine's maritime transportation. Such a balance is not traditional, as we are used to seeing it, but in the dimension of Ukraine's asymmetry versus Russia's asymmetry at sea, it works and is quite stable. Therefore, there is no point in urgently changing it to a Russian maritime truce, bringing new threats and dangers at sea. At the same time, it cannot be said about the air and land domains, which clearly require priority in solutions for a ceasefire. Such lessons and others, they learned us what the situation in the non-traditional format, non-based on the traditionally well-known principles and roles of classical naval forces and a classical assessment how we assess situation at sea. But on the other hand, such lessons learn us what we should be. We should be asymmetric, more symmetric in inland seas, and don't allow Russians to implement, to realize their goals, to disrupt international freedom of navigation, international shipping in inland seas. Thank you for your attention, and I'm open for your questions. Thank you.
Right. Admiral PANAIT, you were also monitor the Black Sea with, extraordinary detail. How does it look from your perspective?
Thank you so much. Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank you so much to the New Strategy Center for this opportunity. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be in this important panel. I would like to present in front of you PowerPoint presentation in order to develop the understanding about the area of responsibility, about the Black Sea security complexity situation right now. In accordance with the principle, picture is worth 1,000 of words. I would like to present the agenda. I will try to be short, very short, in order to have enough time for the rest of panelists and for your question and answer. This is the area of responsibility and the war area. Speaking about the transition from Black Sea Grain Initiative, I would like to underline that we have already almost 10,000 commercial vessels transited the area of responsibility. That means a big number of ships. Is so important speaking about the freedom of navigation. This is the most important, our mission, to keep the freedom of navigation in a very good shape. We have a lot of threats in our area of responsibility, and the most important threat is the drifting mine threats. We already have discovered and destroyed in the northwest part of the Black Sea 127 mines, discovered and destroyed, and a lot of another unexploded elements. Speaking about the Russian threats, we have every day and almost every night jamming and spoofing in our area of responsibility. From the military point of view, for the military vessels, is not a big issue, but it is a big issue for the commercial vessels. We have another important threat in our area of responsibility. We already have in our territory 25 Russian drones fall down in our territory in the Danube area, and this is another important element that we have to manage in this period of time. Potential for Russian false flag operation with UAVs and USVs. It's another important element. It is important for us to have the best recognized maritime picture. We are connected every day with the Sixth Fleet and with MARCOM, with our Navy in order to provide the best recognized maritime picture. This is the most important element in order to see, in order to reduce the fog about the war. This is Romania's effort to maintain freedom of navigation, and I would like to have a short inputs about our endowment program. We have a plan, and for the next 20 years it's so important for us to put in place this important program to bring in our Navy brand new capabilities in order to have capabilities, to have credibility in order to keep the freedom of navigation in our area of responsibility. I would like to underline the MCM Black Sea trilateral initiative, from my point of view, could be a very good model and could be a very good important step in order to develop another phase, speaking about the CTF Black or speaking about the coalition of wheeling. Speaking about the coalition of wheeling, we are working together with our partners in order to find the best course of action for the next period of time. We have to be ready in order to put in place the best solutions. And this is the last slide. It is so important because this is the Regele Ferdinand frigate. Today, our frigate is under European Union flag in Irene operation in the Med Sea for 1 month and a half. This means our contribution to Euro-Atlantic engagements, and this means this is so important in order to keep going our engagements. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Admiral. Those pictures really are worth a million words, really, because those maps are so much more valuable to somebody who wants to understand what's happening in the Black Sea than so many of the other kind of lofty speeches we heard. Because it really shows you what's happening, and that's I think the value of this panel and the value that you all bring to this conversation. So we'll get into some of this in more detail later on. But Seth, do you want to any thoughts you have on this and other related issues?
On other. Yeah.
Other.
I was introduced as president of Yorktown. Yes, that's right. It's on.
Yeah.
Good. I was a naval officer for almost 20 years and deputy undersecretary to the Navy. That informs my perspective here, particularly from the American point of view, and try to put this question into context. My presentation today is dedicated to Yaron Lynchinsky and Sarah Milgram, the 2 young Israelis who were murdered on Wednesday in Washington out of hatred for Jews and of Israel. May justice be done. May their memory be a blessing. The United States today faces a profound challenge to its international strategic position. This challenge is fundamentally maritime in nature, given the structure of U.S. interests and the goals of U.S. adversaries. The issue is the United States shows little will to respond to these challenges directly, and instead is using non-military and non-naval instruments of power to replace military and naval ones. This effort is likely to fail, leading possibly to war, unless the United States takes rapid steps to rebuild naval capacity. The United States today embraces what might be termed economism in grand strategy, the idea that financial and economic factors are determinate. A reasonable enough supposition, and concurrently that financial and economic tools alone are enough to deter war and win international competition, which is a deeply irrational viewpoint. The first Trump administration ironically broke with the economist thinking in grand strategy that dominated the actions of his predecessor, the Obama administration, and his successor, the Biden administration. It appreciably increased military spending, even if most of this new spending was directed to readiness and higher salaries for service members rather than actual improvements in combat capacity. Still, the first Trump administration left much to be desired in nearly every Eurasian region. It never actually used the levers at its disposal to impose cost on Russia. It did not strike Iran's nuclear program, with the president calling off an attack moments before it began. And it did not appreciably increase US military power in aggregate, which allowed China to continue eroding the Asian military balance. Yet, this performance, despite its obvious gaps, was significantly more competent than the second Trump administration's actions, at least so far. This administration has taken a very different tack. Like any administration, and more accurately, like any complex bureaucratic state, there are multiple constituencies within the Trump administration that are seeking different objectives. The Asia First constituency, which believes that only the Asian balance matters, wants to abandon Europe and the Middle East and focus exclusively on China. The Iran hawks in the administration want to focus on Iran and China while abandoning Europe. An emerging group of what we might call systemic revisionists want to make agreements with, at minimum, Russia and probably Iran, potentially opening the road for a broader agreement with China. All these camps agree that Europe is irrelevant to American interests. Some members of these groups believe that engagement in Europe is both morally and strategically harmful to US policy. European concerns are thus only on the administration's policy radar because of, essentially, inertia. Another word for reality, given the violence and scale of the Ukraine war. In turn, Asia, the United States' only agreed upon policy from these constituencies is some sort of economic punishment of China. Beijing is sometimes viewed as militarily non-credible, particularly as Xi Jinping purges the upper echelons of the Chinese officer corps. Paradoxically, China is also viewed as essentially unstoppable vis-a-vis Taiwan, considering the distances by at least part of the way the Trump administration looks at it. The result is an agreement that economic isolation and financial pressure are the most effective US policy, since they either prevent the US from extending itself militarily or is alone enough to change Chinese behavior. Alone enough by itself to change Chinese behavior. And this fits well with neo-isolationists who advocate for a hemispheric defense policy, since extensive tariffs over time, they think, should reshore, bring back American manufacturing. Of course, China is not a paper tiger, nor a colossus, but instead a large, powerful state with weaknesses and obvious military ambition. Europe is not a backwater, but a key arena of Eurasian contest that the United States should seek to secure, particularly considering that if its financial, industrial, population, and technological capacity is combined with that of the US and other Asian and Middle Eastern allies, China would be totally outmatched. But the Trump administration has chosen to replace hard-headed policy with a series of economic measures. This will, in the end, make war more likely, since it cedes America's strategic ability to shape Eurasian events. In turn, the United States' key adversaries are using obvious instruments of military and naval power in an identifiably maritime manner. This is true even of Russia, typically considered the clearest example of a land power in modern strategic history. Russian strategy has an obvious maritime component given its emphasis on the Black Sea. In Ukraine, Russia hopes to conquer outright the northern Black Sea coastline, giving it a strong position to pressure Romania both overland, through Moldova, and at sea, considering its improved position. If this is combined with Russian co-optation of Hungary, Slovakia, and Serbia, it will allow Moscow to functionally isolate Romania and Bulgaria from the rest of NATO, leaving both vulnerable to various forms of hybrid and direct military pressure. China's strategy is quite obviously maritime in orientation, giving China's objective is to conquer Taiwan and thereby overturn the Asian balance. Without Taiwan in friendly hands, the rest of the US-led regional alliance system is in jeopardy. China can apply pressure on the Philippines and Japan and can redirect assets to dominate the South China Sea. Even Australia would ultimately be under threat since their long-standing effort to develop a high-quality submarine force demonstrates their strategic self-awareness. And I'll bring this to a close. The United States Navy is seeking to shift its force structure and operational concepts to better confront the strategic situation. The result is termed distributed maritime operations. And the core concept is that the US might be able to shift offensive combat power from the traditional core of the fleet, its aircraft carriers, and specifically its carrier air wings, to surface forces spread out over a much greater area of ocean. This improves the resilience of American forces, or it's intended to attack, since disabling or sinking one ship does not damage combat power nearly as much in a force that has a more diffused combat capacity. It also complicates China's targeting problem, since the PLA's greatest advantage is the sheer magazine depth of its missile arsenal, whether deployed from ground-based launchers, aircraft, warships, or even submarines. The difficulty is fourfold. First, the US lacks the ships to execute distributed maritime operations. Worse, it's not building them. Fighting along distributed maritime operational lines requires a much larger surface force and, crucially, a much larger naval logistical force. There are few signs I see that this administration will ask Congress for the money to accomplish this. And thank you for your attention.
Okay, that sort of sets the table here. Admiral Tonight, your slides were fascinating. Can I kind of drill down a little bit on a couple of them? And this is something where Admiral KABANENKO may have some comments as well. So you talked about, usually when we think of threats to freedom of navigation, say in the Black Sea, we think about maybe missiles, right? Sort of, or you know, air power. But you talked about mines. Can you go into more detail about sort of the mine situation of the mines because those are more difficult to see, and where, you know, what sort of paint a more detailed picture of what that situation is in the Black Sea, and of course Admiral KABANENKO too. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your question. It's so difficult to fight against the drifting mines in the Black Sea. This kind of the Soviet mines, I could say, is so difficult to discover. This is the first point. During the night or during the severe weather condition, it's practically impossible to discover this kind of mines, because the color of the mines and the color of the sea. That means it's so difficult, and we have this kind of experience from one bad experience with one Romanian minesweeper two years ago when minesweeper Nicolescu was hit by a drifting mines during the severe weather condition during the night. It was difficult to recover the ship, to repair the ships after this incident, and from this point of view, in the last 2 years, we improve a lot our rules of engagements, our operational standard procedures. We invested a lot in the MCN capabilities in order to extend the capability of the ships in order to discover this kind of threats, this kind of mines. That means we have on board right now MCN drones. We already put in place one important program speaking about the mine hunters. We did buy 2 mine hunters from the Brits, from the UK, and first mine hunter is already operational, and it is involved in the MCM Black Sea. Have you seen we have till now 127 mines already discovered and destroyed, but at the same time we have a big number of commercial vessels that already transited the area of responsibility, the northwest part of the Black Sea. That means we made a very good job. We have freedom of navigation in our area of responsibility, and I would like to underline our effort because in the last 3 years it was made very important, very big efforts. Every day and every night, Romanian Navy have 11 ships, 3 helos involved in this MCM operation under the national flag, under the Romanian Navy lead, under the Romanian Navy command. We have another important support from the Coast Guard with another 4 ships, and another important contribution from our allies. That means we have one MPA P8 Poseidon from the 6th Fleet, another MPA Atlantic from the segment that means the French fleet from the Med Sea, and another MPA from Turkish Naval Forces. Additionally, we already put in practice, we have underway the MCM Black Sea Task Group. It's a trilateral initiative, Turkey, Bulgaria and Romania, consists of 4 ships. Today, the group is under the Bulgarian flagship. In July, we will have a handover, and the Romanian Navy will assume the command for this important task group. We extended this kind of framework in order to develop the CTF Black, in order to develop the coalition of willing, because I already said this construct could be a very good model for this period of time. After the war, I would like to underline the last point, will be a very difficult mission for us, for all partners, because the demining operation in the Black Sea will be a very, very tough issue for us. It's not easy to keep the freedom of navigation, and I would like to raise another point in front of you. Speaking about the Second World War, do you know we have already in the Black Sea some historical mines from the historical minefields from the Second World War? We discovered and destroyed in the last 5 years almost 10 historical mines. That means the war. That means the danger of mines. Probably for the next 50 years, we will have this kind of threat in our area of responsibility. That means it's so important to keep the peace in our world. It's so difficult right now to recover the balance in the Black Sea. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the number of assets you have deployed on this mission is really it's interesting to hear that degree of granularity, because usually you just hear about the mine countermeasures group and you have like no idea. Is it every day? Is it every night? Is it how many assets are being used to this? And so that's a very interesting granularity. Admiral KABANENKO.
So thank you very much, Admiral, for your comprehensive explanation in terms of naval mine issue in the Black Sea. And only just can add what in some time, probably in the future, Ukraine will join this trilateral group, MCM group, what demonstrates the highest effectiveness from my perspective. And together we'll clear naval mines in the Black Sea and our zone of our common, our joint interests. Because you absolutely agree, this is a difficult question, and of course it needs more time when it's just somebody can just imagine, because yeah, you're absolutely right. The experience of even First World War and Second World War, mining in the Black Sea evidence what these threats still exist, and after this war, the problem will exist, and we'll need more efforts to clear mines in different areas of the Black Sea. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Is there any estimate in terms of numbers at all, or is this like completely? I mean, are we talking about 5,000, 1,000? I mean, does anybody know? I mean, any even ballpark?
We have only one information from March 2022. Mm-hmm. In accordance with Novorossiysk Naftex, they released information at the time about 420 mines, but I don't know, probably nobody knows how many mines were installed in the Black Sea. Another important threat, it's a pollution for the Black Sea, because we already have in the Black Sea more than 30 vessels sunk, military and civilians, and the Black Sea is not a big sea, it's a semi-closed sea, 700 nautical miles length, 350 nautical miles wide, and from this point of view could be another important reason that means it's so important to find the best solution to stop the war in this area, in this part of the war. At the end of the day, from my point of view, it's about the leadership, and at the end of the day, it's so important in order to find the best solution to put in practice this kind of leadership. Could be regional, could be local, national, international, but this is the secret, the leadership, in order to find the best solution for the citizens.
Mm-hmm. One of your other slides, Admiral, was indicated that that 25 drones or drone parts had landed on Romanian territory since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. That's a rather significant number. We've heard of, of some, but I didn't realize the number was quite that high. Now, I gather that your parliament recently am I correct? Your parliament recently gave permission for you to start shooting these down. Is that correct? And if so, have you?
Yes, my presentation is unclassified one,
okay.
And do you know very well about the Russian attacks about the Ren and Ismail harbors?
Sorry.
The Russians attacked in the last 2 years. The Ren and Ismail, the Ukrainian harbors, during the Danube-Kilia branch, almost every night, every week in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. From this reason, a lot of Russian drones fall down in our territory. This is another important issue because it's so sensitive for the citizens. Our citizens that live in this area is not easy for them to understand why they have this kind of danger in proximity of the houses
Right, right.
And from this reason, we deployed forces in our area of responsibility in order to keep the moral highs of the citizen, to keep the freedom of navigation in our area of responsibility, because the Danube Delta, it's the Romanian Navy area of responsibility. It's so important because the Danube right now, we can understand better after started the war what means the mobility from the commercial point of view, even for the military point of view. Danube River could be a very, very good solution, outstanding solution from this point of view. After starting the war, speaking about the grain initiative, we transited with a lot of barges, a lot of ships from Ren, Ismail, the Romanian harbors, that means Galați, Tulcea, Brăila, through the Danube till Cernavoda, and after that from Cernavoda to Agigea Sau through the Danube Black Sea Channel, 78 kilometers length. And from this point of view, it's so important because have you seen on my presentation, we already shipped more than 133 millions of tons grains from Ukraine to Romania and from Romania to Europe and the rest of the world.
Maybe this is a classified question. If it is, please tell me. But I mean, you have the authority to shoot these down, or are these are mostly parts? Have they? I mean, in Poland, for example, there have been some missiles or missile parts that have, one has killed 2 people and one landed 500 kilometers into Poland near the foreign minister's country house. Sort of, I mean, but have they caused sort of, any significant damage to Romanian territory?
No, till now, no.
They have no wounded anybody, haven't killed anybody?
No,
I hadn't heard of it, but I just wanted
Yes, not yet,
Yeah.
and hopefully, I hope will be not.
Yeah.
But speaking about the Baltic and our theme about the freedom of navigation from the Baltic to the Black Sea, it's important to underline that we already built bridges between our seas. Is so important. Today we have some staff officers in the biggest NATO exercise, the Baltops, from the Baltic area. And we already built bridges between our Navy and the Polish Navy. We train together. We are involving, speaking about the deployment of naval strike missiles from Poland to Romania in order to train our sailors in order to keep this kind of alliance in a very good shape.
Well, I have a bunch more questions that I could ask, but we have 8.5 minutes left for should anybody wish to ask questions. I see I see several hands already. Shall we start with the front row? Ben?
Well, my question will be to Admiral PANAIT about unmanned. My question will be to the Admiral PANAIT about unmanned systems, but I'd want to start by saying there is no way we will ever have freedom of navigation in the Black Sea until Russia is defeated. They will continue to abuse or violate international law, threaten Ukrainians, threaten Romanians, threaten everybody else. So the best way to get freedom of navigation in the Black Sea, of course, is to fucking defeat Russia. But until that happens, Admiral PANAIT, the Romanian Navy, where are you on unmanned systems? Ukraine obviously has mastered it. Where is the Romanian Navy on the use of unmanned systems?
Thank you so much, General, for your question. We already learned from Russian-Ukrainian war. It's so important to put in practice right now the lesson identified, the lesson learned. We already started 3 years ago in order to have a doctrine conference led by the Romanian Navy in order to develop the understanding for this kind of doctrine, speaking about the unmanned system. It's so important because we already understand that this could be a very good solution for the Black Sea. And in this regard, we already have another important exercise. It's about OPEX-CDT. It was organized last year for the first time in Romania. It's pretty like the same dynamic messenger and the REMUS from Portugal, from Atlantic. We learn from NATO. It's under the MARCOM guidance, and we are trying to put in practice the philosophy. We are trying to put in practice in the all domain, because it's so important to develop in a very good balance the air, the surface, and the undersurface drones. And we are right now in a very good shape in this field. We are trying to use the SAFE, for example. SAFE is Readiness 2030, the European Union program, and we are looking forward to develop the best systems for our Navy. We are working close with the Sixth Fleet and with the MARCOM in this so important field. It is important for us to find the best solution in order to develop the national industry in this field, in order to put very, very rapid in practice, to bring in the Navy these kind of capabilities. We already have a lot of capabilities, speaking about the all domains in the Navy today, right now. Thank you so much.
Sure. I saw Ian's hand up. Did I? Same question. Okay, sir.
My name is Viorel Stănilă. I am a diplomat with the Foreign Ministry of Romania. I have a question mostly addressed to the American members of the panel, and if General Ben Hodges is kind to pop in, would be great also. Two premises for my question. Euro theater of operations is a land-air theater. Indo-Pac and Asia is an air-sea theater of operation. This is the first premise. The second premise, the original pivot launched by Obama in 2008, pivot to Asia, ascribed 60 to 40 ratio in allocation of forces and military resources. 60% to Indo-Pac and Asia, and 40% to the other theaters, namely Europe and the Middle East. My question is, there is any shift in the meaning of the pivot to Asia concept, since we now talking about withdrawal of significant number of American forces from Europe? Thank you very much.
Seth, do you want to take that? No. No?
So, is this still on? Yes. So that's the problem that I was trying to get at in my talk, which is that the U.S. administration is moving away from a traditional understanding, at least a post-World War II understanding, of the importance of the strategic, commercial, financial, cultural, political connections between the United States and Europe. That's, in my judgment, that's a mistake. I mentioned the reason in my talk, which is that if you put together the wealth of Europe with the United States and add some other allies from Asia, that we overmatched China very easily, but that answer does not go to the point that you're raising, because China is not the only issue. And from the Trump administration's point of view, there ought to be a greater recognition of what Russian aims are, of what General Hodges said about the pressure that Russia will exert until it's stopped one way or the other. And that understanding is not present there. And rather, what is present is what seems to be an effort to reach a détente everywhere that there's conflict in the world, reach some kind of an understanding. There are some with whom an understanding can be reached, and there are some with whom an understanding cannot be reached. And then there's the ones in the middle where you can reach a limited understanding. And that difference has not surfaced in terms of policy in the current administration. So I don't think the game is over. Nor do I believe that that the view that is more or less held by this administration is a lasting one in the United States. The United States' interest beyond its own hemisphere begins a long, long time ago. At the end of the 18th century, we had a President Jefferson who came into office believing that the best maritime security for the United States was 200 rowboats with a cannon in each one of them. And he ended up financing battleships, basically, that were used in Europe, in the Mediterranean. The idea that American security is connected with a forward basis, forward presence in Europe is very old. It's part of the American Republic, and if it's shadowed right now, I expect that it will resurface in the future.
I'm looking at the clock. I mean, theoretically, we're finished. I think we're at the end of our time. If anybody has, if there's any more questions, we probably squeeze one more in. Ian.
Ian Brzezinski, Atlantic Council. I guess I'll follow up on Ben's question about USVs and UAVs. Admiral PANAIT, you said that you've made a lot of progress in developing the philosophy and doctrine for the use of unmanned systems in the Romanian Navy. Based on that, can you give us a sense of where will that lead to, what kind of USV and UAV capabilities do you see being introduced into the Ukrainian and into the Romanian Navy in the near future? Are you looking primarily at UAVs? Are you looking at USVs? Are they for, and what sort of missions? Is it for short-range ISR? Is it for long-range ISR? Are you thinking about sea control? Could you give us a sense of what kind of capabilities you'll be bringing in to the Romanian Navy based off of your philosophy and doctrine?
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor, for your question. The first priority for us, it was to develop the air unmanned vehicles. And in this regard, we already did buy some MCM drones. We already put in our Navy some drones for searching. We are waiting from your country, from A-Shield, the VBAT, for example. This year we will receive inside the MDA program. MDA program, it's a bilateral Romanian Navy, United States Navy program speaking about the maritime domain awareness, because in this framework it's so important to have this kind of recognized maritime picture. The second priority was for the underwater systems. It's so important for us to use the gliders, for example. We have important Apex Iridium, for example. Today we have in progress right now in order to develop some surface vehicles, unmanned surface vehicles. This is the biggest challenge, and in this field we have to work more in order to find the best solution, in order to bring in our Navy the brand new capabilities. And I spoke about the SAFE, the European Union program. Inside this important program, it's about 150 million euros, and we are trying to be smart and to be efficient in order to bring in Romanian Armed Forces and for the Romanian Navy important equipment with our allies, with our partners.
Okay, so we're a bit over, and I'm conscious the Bertelsmann Foundation is introducing its project shortly, so we started a little late, so we ended a little late, excuse us. Thank you all for joining us for this, and a round of applause, please, for our distinguished panel.